Hey everyone, welcome back to the I Heart Podcast. My name is Jonathan North, and today my friend Mark Brown has joined me to talk about a recent, but ultimately kind of obscure animated film, The Adventures of Tintin. This episode was originally going to be an episode of I Heart Animation for my YouTube channel, but I didn't get it edited in time to get it out before December, which is when I usually suspend my regular shows for my Christmas Carol Countdown series. I decided to delay it until January, but that's around the time I really started seriously planning this podcast, so eventually I decided to just repurpose it completely and use it as an episode here instead. And of course, as this was originally going to be a YouTube video, it is on the shorter side, so I decided to bring my co-host back to do a Q&A like I have in the past with my other YouTube friends. This is Mark's first full episode of the podcast, but if you've watched my YouTube channel, you would have met him before, and if you listened to my Snow White podcast, you would have heard him there as well, as he was one of my friends who contributed their thoughts for that review. Mark and I both write for the Rotoscopers animation website, so as you may guess, we're both big fans of the medium. He likes a lot of the more obscure films, so when I've had him on as a guest, I've asked him to suggest some things for us to talk about. This time he chose a film that seems like it has been largely forgotten about, despite the fact that it was directed by Steven Spielberg and produced by Peter Jackson. The Adventures of Tintin is based on a Belgian comic series that is hugely popular around the world, but not so much in America, which is why today it seems like it has kind of faded into obscurity. Why don't you tell us a bit about the movie and then why you chose it?
Well, the movie we're reviewing is The Adventures of Tintin, The Secret of the Unicorn, or I guess for short it's just called Adventures of Tintin. The reason I chose this is because, one, I'm a huge Tintinophile. I've read every Tintin book growing up, and when Steven Spielberg announced that he was directing this movie, I don't think there's anyone more excited about it than me. I'm sad that it didn't do better than it did in America, but it's understandable because these books are not very popular in America, but around the world, especially in Europe, they're huge successes. And for those unfamiliar with it, it's basically about a reporter named Tintin who pretty much has adventures all around the world with his friends, depending on what the plot of the storyline is. And this movie was one that it brought together a few. It's basically about a book called The Secret of the Unicorn, as well as some elements from other books put together, and it's pretty much like how Tintin first met his friend Captain Haddock and how they go about finding this secret treasure that the Haddock's family has left for him. And another reason I wanted to see this movie is this is probably my favorite animated film that's not Disney or Pixar. I mean,
okay.
given the fact, if we're following the opinion that motion capture counts as animation, this definitely is my favorite non-Disney, non-Pixar film. And also the motion capture is the perfect medium to bring this story to life. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about it.
Okay. Yeah, so I had no prior knowledge of this story, these characters. I mean, I know I've seen the characters, but I had never read any of the books.
This was your first time watching?
Yeah, I'd never seen this before today. I finished watching it like literally right before we started recording. I've had too much going on. I hadn't had time to watch it before now. So yeah, this is the first time I don't want to say it's my first introduction to the characters because I'm pretty sure I read or at least studied some of the French comics in one of my art classes. Because I'm pretty sure that one of our teachers really liked these stories, but I don't think we ever really read them because I'm pretty sure they were all in French. So I wasn't really knowing what the stories were. I was familiar with the looks of the characters. But beyond that, I had no idea of the stories. I didn't really know who the characters were. I just recognized Tintin and Snowy. Those other than them, I didn't know who anyone else was.
Yeah, they have the stories they're Belgian and they're written in French originally, but they have, like, for Britain especially, they have a wonderful English translation that's very popular there. And those are the books I read.
So what is it about this movie that makes it like your favorite non-Disney animated film?
I think it's gonna be just how much I love Tintin, how much I love the books and stuff. Just seeing this creation come to life is probably what makes this one of my favorite non-Disney, non-Pixar animated films. And like I said, also the motion capture is wonderful because there are like so many scenes like when they're shaking hands, then they're like just transformed into a desert
Mm-hmm.
sand dune or something, or the scene that the one shot long motorcycle chase, which to me is one of the best pieces of film put to film.
Yeah, there was some really amazing scenes in this, and like for like first part of the movie, I was wondering why did they do motion capture? Why didn't they just do a live action film?
Mm-hmm.
But then when we got to those scenes where it was like
Mm-hmm.
the one shot filming the motorcycle chase and all these the houses crashing around them and the tank, and I was like,
Exactly.
this is probably why they
This is the
chose
reason.
motion capture. This
It's
wouldn't
just
be very realistic to do in live action.
it's just so amazing that the camera doesn't cut. It just keeps going for like a good, I don't know, 30, 45 seconds, and then finally it cuts. And
Hmm.
it's just, especially since it's motion capture, the actors are they're still kind of acting out everything in live, but then animators animating over it after. But it's like I didn't have a smile on my face every time I seen it.
Yeah, there was a lot of really amazing scenes in this. And there was so much that I felt like I should be like absolutely loving the film, but I couldn't find myself really loving it. I felt the same way as I felt the first time I watched Pirates of the Caribbean.
Mm,
Like I like Pirates of the Caribbean now, but like the first time I watched it, I was like, oh, this is cool, this is fine.
mm,
But there wasn't a whole lot there that I like totally connected with,
mm.
and it took like a few re-watches before I started really liking it, and I don't know, I can't really explain why. I don't know. It just, I don't know if it was the fact that we don't like get to know Tintin. Like basically you're kind of thrown into the world with no introduction to him, and you just kind of figure out along the way that he's a reporter and he's solving a mystery, which is fine and it made for a good story, but there wasn't much in there that made me like care about him as a character. But like for you, I can tell since you've like read all these books, you probably had all the prior knowledge. You knew the character a lot better than someone just going into this movie would.
Yeah, no, I'll give you that. I would say the movie is probably made more for people who who already have some basic knowledge of the characters in the world, rather than this being like the introduction to the people about this world. Like I've talked to people as well who this is the first Tintin thing they've ever indulged in, and they feel the same way. And like especially, I guess spoiler alert if anyone doesn't want spoilers, but like the end of the movie, they really don't find the treasure. They find like the area where the treasure is going to be, and it leaves on a cliffhanger for like a second film.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason this is because the book that this is based on, The Secret of the Unicorn, that also ends off that way. That this next book that comes after it, Red Rackham's Treasure, is about them actually going to find the treasure. So
Okay.
I guess I knew going into this film that this was how this was going to end. But other people may be like, I know I've talked to people who are upset that they didn't actually find the treasure in the end of this movie. Like, what type of ending was that? So I like stuff like that. I can understand how people would feel.
I didn't have a problem really with the way it ended. It felt like it
Mm.
had a definitive end, but they
Okay.
were leaving it open for a sequel.
Well, the thing is, they were planning a sequel. It was Spielberg said he would direct this film, and then Peter Jackson would direct a sequel, and then they both would collaborate for a third film. That was the plan. But Peter Jackson has just been so busy with everything else that he's been doing that they never got started yet on a sequel for this movie.
Okay.
In what,
Are they
7 years?
planning to still though? Or is it
He says he is, but I don't know.
okay.
It depends. It depends on how Peter Jackson has Mortal Engines coming up and other stuff. So I mean, me and all the Tintin fans are like, we're waiting for the sequel. so so hopefully we'll get one. Hopefully, I mean, I hope we get one.
Yeah, I probably would go watch a sequel. Like I liked the movie well enough that I would be interested in seeing more.
Yeah,
It just it didn't connect with me enough for me to be like, "Oh, I love this movie."
yeah.
I mean, it was good. It was like my favorite movies are ones where I like feel totally connected to the characters, or it
Okay.
like blows me away with how beautiful and artistic it is. And there wasn't a whole lot of that in here. There was just like a lot of cool scenes mixed with characters that I didn't care enough about yet.
What did he think of Thompson and Thompson?
Were the police
The police
officers?
officers,
I was wondering why they looked exactly alike.
yeah.
Like I thought they were twins, and then they were talking about being meeting each other, and apparently they're not twins. So
Yeah. In the books, they're police officers that work together, and it's never said that they're twins, but um, one is Thompson without a P, and one is Thompson with the P. And one of them has a mustache that goes straight down, and one of them's mustache it kind of curls up at the end.
okay,
And so that they're basically the comedic relief. They're like the buffoonery actors who think they're actually doing a good job. And
uh-huh.
and their big thing is that they talk in spoonerism all the time. One of them would say something, the other one would say the same thing, and switch the words around and think he's saying the same.
Yeah, they were fine, but like maybe slightly annoying.
But this whole subplot with them going after the thief and the pickpocket, like all that isn't really in the book, or it's like hinted at, but it doesn't go into detail as it does in this film. So you could say that's a bit of a padding, maybe.
I kind of felt like the same way with them as I did with Captain Haddock, and like most of the side characters. A lot of times I was just like slightly annoyed by them. Just like, why are you acting like this?
Yeah, everyone had its personality. Always enjoys a drink and ready to ready to fight. And the thing is, he's a sailor, so the author had to figure out a way to make him be able to swear. But because the books are intended for kids, he couldn't actually use swear words. So he invented the idea of Captain Haddock just saying random names whenever he wants to swear, like billions of blue blistering barnacles or 10,000 thunder and typhoons, or calling pterodactyls and bashy bazooks and saltwater politicians and stuff like that. So that's another cool thing about the books. You always want to know, what's he gonna call? What type of swear words he gonna use this time?
I like stuff like that, like clever censoring.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the show The Good Place?
No.
They do that in that show. They have clever ways of getting around swear words.
Is this a show with Kristen Bell, right?
Yeah, they're in The Good Place. Like everyone has died, and they're not allowed to swear in The Good Place. So every time somebody swears, it's replaced with a word, and it sounds like some of the words sound sort of similar to the one that they're trying to say. Like she called someone a bench one time. And it's just having a random word like that replacing a swear word, I think is a lot funnier than having an actual swear word.
Yeah, I agree too. Like I'd rather go into Captain Haddock type of tirade than actual swear word.
Yeah, I always appreciate clever censoring without actually like using beeps or whatever they want to put in there. I like it when they figure out a clever way to write it into the story.
So you definitely like that part of his character in the books.
Yeah. So is there anything else you want to specifically point out as being like a favorite part of the story or the movie?
I think my favorite part is the motorcycle chase that I talked about. Just that 30-45 seconds straight of just action and the camera not cutting. It's like my inner geek just gets excited about that. But overall, I just enjoyed the movie, seeing this come to life. Like I said, and I really hope Peter Jackson gets to make a sequel soon. Hopefully, before they decide to reboot
it. Well, I mean, everything is motion capture, so it's not like the characters are going to get too old.
That's true.
They can still move around and replace them with animated characters.
That is true.
Okay.
Andy Serkis. Yes, Andy Serkis.
I was going to say, too, when Andy Serkis popped up, I didn't know he was in this movie. But when, like, as the second I saw the character and heard, like, the first word out of his mouth, I was like, that's Andy Serkis.
He's the king of motion capture, man. He's everything he's done. Gollum, this, King Kong, the Caesar and Planet of the Apes.
I should have known that he would be in this movie. I didn't know much about this movie at all going in, but knowing that it was motion capture, I should have known he'd be in there somewhere.
Yeah, and then with his directed film Mowgli that's going to Netflix, I think he's also the motion capture for Baloo as well, if I'm not mistaken. So that guy knows his motion capture stuff.
Yeah, Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see what he does with the Mowgli movie. I don't know why it's on Netflix. Like, why did they sell it to Netflix? I can't figure that out.
Yeah, I was upset when I heard that, but we can't do anything about it now, I guess.
Well, maybe once it's out, we could come back and talk about it.
Yeah, we could if you'd like it. That'd be something.
Okay, well, I think that's probably going to be all for today.
All right, sound good.
I worked all night and I only got 2 hours of sleep yesterday, so I'm ready to go to bed, even though it's not even 11 in the morning here yet. So, anyways, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you online if they want to check out more of your stuff?
Sure. So I have two blogs. The Animation Commendation is one at markb4.wordpress.com. That's like an animation theme blog where I review animated movies, or I host my animated Who Wants to Be a Millionaire animation edition games there with Jonathan North has been one since.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have another blog, My Live Action Disney Project, at myliveactiondisneyproject.wordpress.com, where I'm intending to watch and review every theatrically released Disney film ever made. And you can also find me on the Twitter at the_anim_com, short for the Animation Commendation, and on Instagram at the.animation.commendation.
Okay, and I will have a link down to the most recent episode of his Who Wants to Be a Millionaire show that I was on. So you can check that out if you'd like.
See how Jonathan did.
Yeah. Do I become a fake millionaire? We'll find out.
Yeah, I can't afford to pay people on the show.
Okay, well, thanks for joining me, and we'll have to do this again sometime.
Yeah, I'm down for it.
Okay.
I'd love to come back as often as I can, as you'd want me.
Well, I think we're already planning on another one pretty soon here, so...
Yeah, with a probably more obscure movie, I think.
Okay, well, I guess we will see you then.
Okay, bye.
Yep, bye. Okay, now that you've heard our thoughts on the Adventures of Tintin, I thought it would be fun to bring Mark back to get to know him a little better. Okay, so thanks for coming back to do this.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me back on.
I just wanted to do like a quick Q&A, kind of like get to know you and just ask a few questions, mostly about like movies and stuff. But
all right, I didn't study, but I'm ready.
Okay. So the first one I want to do is just like tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, where do you work? Do you have any pets or hobbies or anything?
My name is Ibrahim, but I go by Mark Brown as a pseudonym on some of my blogs. I'm a blogger. I have two blogs. I have an animation-related blog at the Animation Commendation, and I have a live-action Disney blog at my live-action Disney project. And I recently graduated from my local university last month, and I'm currently job hunting. But until then, that's pretty much all I got. I have no pets.
So now the ones that like are more relevant to my podcast.
Okay.
What is your favorite movie?
My favorite movie? Oh gosh. For a while, my default answer is it's technically three movies, but I can't pick one. It's the Back to the Future trilogy.
Okay.
I kind of group them all together, so that's my default go-to answer. It's those three movies.
Okay. And what is your favorite TV show?
I'm not huge into TV, but the TV show I've definitely watched the most of is The Honeymooners from the 1950s. I've seen every episode of that like 20 times probably.
Okay.
So I guess that would be my favorite.
Okay. What is your favorite Disney movie?
Beauty and the Beast, the 1991 animated version, hands down.
Okay.
That was easy.
And favorite Pixar movie?
Monsters Inc. I know recently we had the 2319 day, actually.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite Disney character? Maybe not necessarily from Beauty and the Beast, but any Disney character?
Well, mine is actually from Beauty and the Beast. It's Lumiere.
Okay.
And basically, I just loved how he was able to shoot fire from his hands. And I think that's what made me like him ever since I was small.
Okay. And then I have a feeling I maybe know the answer to this. Okay. Favorite Disney princess and or prince?
Uh, it's I don't have one particular, but it's Belle is one, but also Cinderella and Aurora. So it's kind of like a tie between them three. But
Okay.
I also like I also like Ailan Ree mostly because she's not an official Disney princess, so I feel I should like her to at least have someone like her.
Okay. Do you have a favorite book series?
No, I don't. I mean, I don't have a favorite, but I grew up reading a lot of like the Hardy Boy series growing up, and the Boxcar Children and mysteries like that.
Okay.
And also I read every single Agatha Christie novel, so I guess you could call it a series, Agatha Christie books.
Okay. Yeah, I grew up reading the Boxcar Children too. That was like my obsession when I was a kid.
And they're still going. They're still making them.
I know. I'm afraid to look into what they're like now.
Yeah. Oh, Magic Treehouse. That was not the big one for me too, growing up.
Do you have a favorite animated series, past or present?
I am Scooby Doo is my favorite animated cartoon. So basically, any Scooby Doo adaptation, probably Scooby Doo. Where are you? Or What's New Scooby Doo? I guess.
Okay. And do you have a favorite animator or artist?
I love so many of them. I don't think I have a favorite. They're all so talented.
And this is probably the same answer from before. What was your favorite cartoon growing up?
Oh well, it would be Scooby Doo, pretty much.
Okay.
That's definitely my favorite.
What was the first animated movie you remember ever seeing?
Probably would be Beauty and the Beast. That would be the first one I remember seeing because we had the VHS growing up, and I think I just watched that over and over.
Okay. The first one came up, and nothing ever topped it.
No one ever topped after that because I was like, oh, this is what movies are like. Awesome.
What is your favorite animation studio?
Walt Disney Animation Studios.
Okay. And this is my last one. What is your favorite obscure animated movie?
Obscure. Well, I know we talked about this before, but I guess it would be the Adventures of Tintin if you consider that obscure enough, and if you consider motion capture and that form of animation, then it would be that.
I feel like it's obscure in that hardly anybody even knows it exists, I think.
Yeah. So I guess that's pretty much the definition of obscure.
Yeah, so even though it's recent, I never hear anybody talking about it.
Exactly. I feel I don't know many people who talk about it who weren't into the Tintin books growing up.
Yeah, that's probably true. Well, I think that's all my questions.
That was easy. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out exactly how I want to do this, but those are the ones I've come up with for now. So thanks for joining me again. And I'll have to have you on for like a full podcast episode, like recording specifically for the podcast. Like this is, I'm repurposing one that was originally going to be a video as a podcast, but we'll have to do like specifically a podcast episode sometime. Just got to figure out what I want to do.
Yeah, no problem. Any animated one is good. Any Disney one is good.
Yeah. If you have any suggestions later on, we can talk and we can figure out something to do too.
Yeah, no problem. And we were supposed to do the Guardians of the Owls.
That's right. Maybe we could do that as a podcast.
We could. Just let me know when I have to rewatch it. I haven't seen it in so long.
Yeah, me too. I haven't seen it in a while. Okay, well, we'll have to talk about that. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for coming back.
You're welcome. That was fun.
We'll see you in another episode.
Hopefully. I'm always free to come back.
Okay. Mark and I will be talking about more animation in the future, but in the meantime, if you'd like to follow him on social media, I'll have a link to his blogs and Twitter in the description. He's not a full-time YouTuber, but he does occasionally do a series based on the game show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, in which he has themed all the questions around the animation industry. He's had me on as a guest a couple times there, so if you're interested, I'll link you to those videos as well. In the next episode, I will be joined once more by my friend Rachel Wagner, and we will be talking about the first 3 shorts in Pixar's new Spark Shorts series, an upcoming anthology of animated shorts that will be released on Disney's upcoming streaming service, Disney+. The first 3 shorts have been released to YouTube, so we thought it would be fun to talk about them in anticipation of the new series. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.